Now we are live on Facebook and YouTube. How's everybody doing out there in the great real world outside of my house? I ventured out and got some groceries tonight. Everything's getting warmed up down here in Texas. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight out there that's watching. I'd also like to thank everybody who's listening later on our Common Grounds podcast that's published on every major podcast uh, app out there that you can find on the iTunes store. If you're listening, go in on Apple and give us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing, or give us a suggestion on how we can improve the show or who we need to get on here. Tonight, we're talking to the theme from Thumb Roast Coffee. It's a interesting little duo from Michigan. They're located in the thumb of Michigan, thus the name. Really, really clever. I will, however, call it Thumb Rest Coffee at some point. I've been doing that when I type it for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, thanks for tuning in tonight. We're going to have a really good show, and we're going to roll right into and get it going. All right. Good evening. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Great.
How are you?
Very good.
We're good. We're good. It's a little warm in Texas today. I think we hit 90 degrees. And with everything running in my office, it's pretty warm. The lights and the computer going. So I've got my ice cold beverage here to keep me cool tonight. How's everything in the thumb?
It's warmer
Good today. Yeah. Warmer today. Nice.
So, Missy, go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about how y'all got into coffee roasting.
Okay. I am Missy Bobo. I am the owner of Thumb Roast Coffee. This is my daughter, Michael. Yes, her name is Michael. And yes, she is my daughter. My mother-in-law's name was Michael. So we get that question a lot. Why is her name Michael if she's a girl? But she, just a quick side note, our last name is Bobo. So she got a double whammy of a girl named Michael and a last name of Bobo. So she's amazing. She is our roaster extraordinaire. She does all of our coffee roasting for us. She is also the kitchen manager and the manager of Ray's, our coffee house and our restaurant and bar in the same town that we have the coffee roastery. But we got started, actually, it's almost been 5 years. We started in my kitchen about 5 years ago. A friend of mine offered to help me get started. And there was a niche. She wanted to sell coffee in her gift shop locally here. And she is very health, and I'm very health conscious, and we don't want to put something in our bodies every day. You know, you drink coffee every day. So you wanted it to be the healthiest version with no chemicals or fillers or anything synthetic. But there was nowhere around here to get freshly roasted or even real whole bean coffee.
At least at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time. So she said, well, why don't we just do it? I've got the money and you've got the time. Let's do it. So May 2015, we bought some green coffee and put it on my stovetop with wooden spoons and iron skillet. Yeah, it's not going to work. So then we bought a home roaster and we just kind of fine-tuned what we wanted to do and bought more green coffee and quickly figured out that wasn't going to be good long-term because we could only do about a pound every hour and a half. And then we started looking for a commercial coffee roaster. I looked all over the United States for a used roaster. We wanted to pay cash. So I looked on Craigslist and forums and different websites and all that kind of stuff, and looked in Florida and Las Vegas and California, and I ended up finding exactly what I wanted about an hour from me in Saginaw, which was crazy. So we bought that, picked it up, and the guy gave us some coffee and gave us a few tips, and then he left, and we've just been fine tuning ever since.
So no actual formal like SCA training or anything?
Not yet. That's on our radar for this year. We want to send Michael to go get certified as an SCA roaster. But no formal training, just a lot of videos, a lot of nerd research, a lot of trial and error.
Isn't that amazing that you can?
It's fun.
You could just look. You can with a lot of dedication and a lot of skill, you can learn almost anything from YouTube at this point. It's
Right.
really neat. So Michael, how old are you?
If you don't mind me 23. I just turned 23 last week.
Okay. You're definitely the youngest roaster I've had on the show. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I wish you would have talked to me a week ago. I would have been 22.
Well, happy late birthday.
Yeah.
Happy late birthday.
Well, thank you.
So it went, I never really hobby roasted. It was more, hey, there's an opening here. Let's see what it looks like.
Well, I mean, for like all gifts for like Christmas and birthdays and whatever, for her, we would always get her coffee, like whether it was ground coffee or a coffee mug or something having to do with coffee, new creamers. She doesn't really get into the dairy creamers now, but at the time, yeah. So it was just like a no-brainer, like, oh, yeah, go do that. You love it. So why not?
And I like your chalkboard. Did you do that yourself?
I didn't. It was one of our friends, but I'm going to be doing a couple in here pretty soon.
So you're in the cafe right now?
Yep.
Awesome. You're going to have to give us are you on a mobile device?
No, I am hooked up to my laptop.
Okay. Well, never mind. We'll do it. We'll do a tour later on. So, what is your current process? Y'all roast all your coffee for the restaurant, for the cafe. How many different coffees do y'all serve in the cafe that you roast? Because you've got a big selection online. That's why I'm asking. Do y'all carry all those in the store
we do
as well?
all of them. Yep.
And what type of coffee drinks do you do in the cafe? This is a new experience for me. I have never been able to interview somebody that had the roastery and the cafe. Everybody is just typically a small batch coffee roaster. So I'm really interested in the barista side of it and the drink side of it as well. So what all do you?
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. We've got, the lattes, cappuccinos, macchiato, all iced as well. Got, chai latte, dirty chai. I think my favorite is the cold foam that we do, which we take like instead of like foaming the milk, we foam the actual espresso, and it turns like a really cool, like creamy consistency. It's super cool. But yeah, I mean, we can do, virtually anything though, because we've got cold brew too. So we make ourselves. So
do y'all do like pour overs or anything?
Yep,
as well?
That's the only thing that we do. We don't have anything sitting like waiting, in a pot. It's all either pour over or French press, or it's all fresh right there.
Oh, we're coming up this weekend then. That's it. They lift the lockdown. We're on our way.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. That absolutely.
Coffee on me.
When
do that.
At some point that's in the works. But do you ever say the roast, what I've got currently is not working, or I want to develop a roast specifically for, like, say your cold brew? Did y'all take and adapt one of your roast to work better for that?
We tried a lot of our current roasts that we already did to make cold brew. Quite a few of them make really, really good cold brew the way that we do it. But we found that one of them works better and is non-polarizing and appeals to the majority. And because of our geographic location, we're so rural, the process, a lot of small batch roasters are in more urban areas and they have an educated audience that knows about coffee. We don't. We have to educate people. So I have to kind of coax people out of their norm to try something new. So I have to make sure that when I'm introducing anything new, especially cold brew to a brand new audience, it's got to be something that appeals to a lot of people and is not polarizing. So what usually I'll do is I'll find one that works for the majority, that is it's not in your face, but it's not too weak. And then we'll offer the more and the stronger for the people that adapt one specifically for cold brew, but we did fine tune it to find one out of the, the gamut of the ones that we offer.
Which
one?
I
think we have about 15 roasts at any given time.
What are you roasting? Which roast is you're doing for cold brew right now?
Our Colombian Supremo dark roast.
Okay.
Which it's really not a dark roast. It's like a City Plus. It's not even or maybe a full City Plus. It's not that oily sheen on the outside. It's barely got that sheen on it. So it's, medium dark. It's nice. It's really rich.
So speaking of the roasting process, Michael, are y'all set up with the full artisan kit? Do y'all
Yep.
Do you do it by computer mostly?
Yep.
And so walk me through the process.
Well, I mean, I will usually just leave the computer up just for reference, so I know that it's like at least around where it should be, but usually I just run it by sight, sound, and smell. There's a really big hopper. We can do 30 pounds at a time now, so that's really cool, instead of 3 or 1 every hour and a half. So I used to be able to do, I think, 80 pounds if I really wanted to in an 8-9 hour day. And then now I can do that in an hour. So that's cool.
Awesome.
But, it goes into the really big hopper and then falls down into the tube and spins around. I mean, I like it. Big Blue. Big Blue, or is it Blue Betty? What was the official name?
Blue Betty.
Blue Betty. Okay.
Yeah, Blue Betty.
We had a naming contest for it.
Oh, nice.
The first roaster we had, which was a 3-pound roaster, we could do 3 pounds at a time. And it was a prototype. It wasn't even a commercial roaster. Someone made squabbling over how they were going to do it. So the guy just sold it. And that was never meant for commercial use. And so we put it through the ringer. We burned out motors, we had to replace parts, and Michael was twisting stuff by hand. So I learned how to roast on that. And then I taught her how to roast. And so we have the Artisan software, but we still want to be an artisan roaster. So we still use sight, sound, and smell to stop the roast, but use the graphing of the Artisan software to make sure that it's on target.
Now, for people who's watching that or listening that might not know what we're talking about, we've got a pretty good coffee crowd. A lot of times, a couple roasters watch, but and I've only seen the Artisan software before. But correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, what it's giving you is your temperature internally of the roaster, your revolutions per minute, maybe your RPMs, and basically your time. And then you look at all of that to see where your roast is to make sure you're hitting the temps at the times that you need to for the length that you need to, right?
Yep.
Okay. It's really neat. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it to people that don't know what they're looking at, or when it comes to coffee, because when you're roasting coffee, you can take it from green coffee to the roast level you want really, really quick if you had the roaster to do it, but you're not going to get the same flavor profile that you do if you take it to time. It's kind of like sauteing something, right? If the longer you cook it, more of the flavors develop. So your typical batch, how large is your typical batch, Michael?
We're usually running about 30 pounds. I mean, sometimes I'll do as low as like 10, but I try to just run it at the same every time so it's consistent.
Y'all got a good customer base there? Y'all
Oh, yeah.
supply any other local restaurants and stuff?
Yep. Restaurants, other coffee shops. Yeah, we've got one, like 2 within an hour and a half of us. And then there's one that's 2.5 hours away. We supply to one in South Carolina. I'm not sure where the other ones are, but there's a bunch of grocery stores that have the bag coffee as well. Our bottled cold brew. Yep.
Yeah, we bottle and distribute cold brew as well. And we have 45 different wholesale clients right now.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's why you're working so much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Just got done at 6:30.
That's amazing.
Plus the restaurant, plus the apartments upstairs, and
all good coffee.
It's fun.
Oh, it's definitely
all run on
a
coffee.
treat. Yeah. I mean, I'm a convert myself. I didn't even drink it until I started roasting it. So
Missy, you're first. What's your favorite roast right now?
Sanilac Sunrise. Always Sanilac Sunrise. Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, medium dark.
Yeah.
Always.
Okay.
I'll go off for a little bit, but I always come back to that.
And that's your morning cup of coffee? Your all day coffee? What are you looking at?
I can't drink coffee all day. I overdosed on caffeine a couple years ago at a supplier. So I can't drink coffee at about 2:00 anymore, else I start having some health issues. So
she tried.
I can drink my coffee in the morning, and
she tried like 56 different kinds of coffee that day.
Oh. You're supposed to spit that out.
I couldn't. It was so good. They were 100-pound macro lots, and we were the only ones that had access to this in North America. And then they were going to auction it off, and I could not let it go. I was supposed to spit it out, and it's like I can't do it. I can't let go of this. So yeah, overdosed. It was fantastic.
It's amazing when you start getting really good coffee. I got a box in yesterday from a prospective roaster, and there was I think there were 7 different little Ziploc bags in there that he'd sent of just to try it out. Here you go. Here's a couple ounces, and we had somebody come do an alarm system. We rewire our alarm system in the house today. I'm like, hey man, you drink coffee? He's like, well, I drink Folgers. I was like, I was kind of looking around like, okay, what can I give him that's not, because a lot of it I hadn't tried yet. And I'm looking at something that's a single origin Honduran red honey that I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be okay with this guy or not. I don't want to give him a crazy coffee. So I gave him some Papua New Guinea that I had that's a good coffee. That's a really, really good cup, because it can go both, there's such a big spectrum on it. Michael, what's your favorite coffee right now?
We have one that is a mixture of the Sanilac Sunrise and the Colombian Dark that we use for the cold brew, and that's called Fitzgerald, and that's what I drink every morning.
I've looked at that one a couple times when I was writing out the descriptions on the website. It definitely sounds good. What's your favorite way of brewing, Michael?
I mean, I have the most lattes, so I think I would say probably espresso if I had to pick one.
Missy?
I think it depends on the coffee. If it's a bolder coffee, I want it French press so I can taste all the boldness. If it's a really delicate coffee that maybe we get right from the farmer, like Honduran, then I'll want it pour over so that I can really taste the nuances in it. But for the most part, I like a good French press. Also, I wanted to say, we keep saying Fitzgerald and Sanilac Sunrise, and as part of our education process for the rural customers, we didn't feel like people were going to want to walk in and order an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe,
right,
or Peruvian Mayo. So we renamed them depending on the roast. So most of them are regional. Sanilac Sunrise are in Sanilac, and we're located on Lake Huron, so in the state of Michigan. So we have one that's Lake Huron and a Sanilac Sunrise and a freighter for our dark roast, off to the races because of the Mackinac sailing races and that kind of thing. So that makes it easy for people to remember and order because it's familiar. And then in addition, we have each label is its own color. So then they can just walk in and grab their orange label and they know they're getting the exact same thing every time.
Okay, that makes sense now. That when I was looking at your labels, I was kind of interested in the names. And I actually have another roaster, Unrest, from Maine. Most of his are named all from local areas, the Allagash River, and different regional aspects of the state or the local community. And that's a good idea. That somebody that doesn't know how to pronounce Yirgacheffe or however you want to pronounce it might not order it just because they were like, I don't
I mean,
want.
I know I wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Or they
it's
don't
intimidating.
think, or they don't think coffee comes from Africa. Because I mean, we're so Juan Valdez and Colombian coffee is where coffee comes from, South America, Central America. We're so ingrained in that by forever watching that on TV or radio ads or magazine ads, that's what people think. And so when you start talking about something from Myanmar or Indonesia, you can definitely get some kickback on that. So that's really cool. I'm actually going to pull up. I've got a question on one of your coffees. When y'all start doing so most of your coffees are blends of single origins. Is that what y'all do?
Most of them are single origins. We only have, I think the only blends we have is Fitzgerald, Bridge Blend.
We still do our coffee house blend for some customers, but we don't typically have that on our menu.
Yeah, most of them are all single origin. We just don't put that on there. Again, just that education piece. We're going to start branching out and doing some more what's the word? Fun and more diverse coffees that will, like most roasters market, the single origin and the flavor notes and that kind of thing, because now we've got a base of customers that understand what we're offering and they're willing to venture out. We had to kind of coax them out of it first, and then now we can introduce those. So it was very strategic for us to educate the way we did so that we could introduce this next market to them.
But that's a good strategy. And you're not the only roaster that does that. I've got another roaster who's in a rural community. And, one of the reasons he got on board with us was he's like, once you get rolling and once you get bigger and you get the reach, he's like, I'm going to get that 60-pound bag micro lot because I can, I can't move it here. I can't move a $14 bag of coffee in his area. He just can't do it. And so that's one of the reasons he jumped on board with us, is because we can, because we got a little bit more reach than him. And as we grow, it's definitely going to be. So walk me through, we'll talk about the website. Walk me through introducing somebody to great coffee. I want both of your takes on it because you both have done it and you've got a lot of experience doing it. So walk me through. I'm a new customer. I walk in and I want a cup of good coffee. So talk to me.
I mean, usually I'd start with asking what they usually drink. Yep. And then base it off of that.
Okay. So just
like
a regular
within
Colombian.
Our list of roasts. So I've got the bold and high caffeinated and the bold and low caffeinated and the rich and not very caffeinated, and all of the different ones. So just like, oh, okay, you like bold Folgers? Okay, I'll give you St. Alex Sunrise because it's way better. Or you like just a normal cup of coffee, then I'll give you Colombian. So, or if they are just like, I just like any kind of coffee, then it's like, okay, I can have fun with this. So.
Okay. Missy.
I like to take the long road and be more nerdy with it, because I like that education piece. So if somebody's walking in and they have no idea what we do, my spiel is, we're Thumb Roast Coffee. We like to educate our community on what great coffee tastes like. we grow up in this area thinking that Folgers is the best, and we buy the highest coffee in the world. It's only Arabica that's high grown, so it's got less caffeine and less acid and more sugar. So a lot of people find that once they try this coffee, that's the healthier version of the coffee that you can buy in the store, they don't go back because they find out what real coffee is supposed to taste like.
And what kind of coffee are you going? What brewing technique are you going to offer up first?
What I usually offer is pour over, because a lot of people, especially in a rural area, haven't seen those. They haven't seen it. The majority of people are either blown away or they're a little older and they say, oh, I remember when my aunt so-and-so used to do that in the 70s. And to me, I like making it in a pour over so one can taste all the nuanced flavor. They get they don't get the boldness of it just in case they don't like it. But also it's a great opportunity for them to come home very cheaply, but still experience that great coffee. They don't have to buy fancy, expensive materials or machines or anything. You can get an amazing cup of coffee with a pour over and some filters. Mm-hmm. So we do that for educational purposes too, so that they know that this doesn't have to cost them an arm and a leg to recreate this at home.
One of my favorite, I do a V60 almost every day. Today I had two. It might be why I'm a little wiry and all over the place, but I think the V60 is one of the best methods and easiest once you get it down. I mean, you can get really, really technical into it about counterclockwise slurries and all kinds of craziness, but it is definitely one of the funnest and most tasty ways to brew a cup of coffee. When y'all are, tell me about, I'm going to mess it up, but tell me about the one from Malawi, Africa. Tell me the story of how y'all got access to that coffee.
I was hoping that would come up. So Michael, you start.
Okay. So we started going out to farmers markets and we didn't know which ones were good and which ones weren't. So we went to this one local one, to just try and feel it out. And we'd only gone to that one. I think this was either my first or second time, and I didn't go ever again. And so I show up, I'm setting up all my coffee and everything, and I just have, I think I had bagged coffee at the time. I think I was serving coffee, but I wasn't roasting, and I had no idea about anything having to do with coffee. I didn't even drink it at the time. So there was a lady that came up who was James, the guy from Malawi, his wife at the time. She came up to me and was like, hey, you guys roast your own coffee? And I was like, well, my mom does. And she was like, well, we were wondering how to roast it because I've got some. And she didn't say anything, she was like, I have some green coffee and I was wondering how to roast it. And so I gave her my mom's information, and I never went to that farmer's market again. And then come to find out, they've got a whole farm in Africa.
So she called me. We set up an arrangement. That was September of 2016. They ended up coming when we had a music festival in our town. So it was really fun. I roasted the coffee for them. And he drank his own coffee from his own farm for the first time ever when we roasted it for him. That was an amazing experience. We took pictures. It was so cool. And then he said, well, my dad to diversify into coffee about 6 or 7 years ago. They were a tobacco and corn farmer, and he had to plead with his dad to diversify a little bit because he said, I really think I can sell this coffee in America. His name is James. He is from Malawi. He came here, went to school, met his wife. His wife is from here in rural Michigan. So they live here, one town over, 12 miles from me. They're married with 3 kids, and they want to move back to Malawi and duplicate everything that we're doing. They want to roast the coffee. They want to have a coffee shop. They want to sell the coffee, and then they want to provide farmers a a way to export their coffee to us as well. So he's been working with us this past year, learning all the different things that we're doing. And he went to Malawi for Christmas. He was there for 8 weeks around Christmas time, and he brought back some coffee. And usually we can only get about 50 pounds at a time. That's what customs will allow him to bring through at a time. So he'll give me the coffee, we'll roast it, and then he goes and sells it to his family and friends. And then we also roast it and sell it on our website. But we're the only ones that he sells his coffee to right now. So it's a hybrid between a Caturra and a Geisha plant. And they've got about 10 acres that they have coffee on that they had no idea what they were doing. And they planted it, they tended it, they harvested it, and it's amazing. It's got the fruity floral notes of an African coffee without that hit in the face acidity. It's like a mellow version of it. It's fabulous. It's an amazing coffee, and we're so privileged to know them and to have that opportunity.
I didn't roast it for like the first year because I was terrified of burning it.
Yeah. Even after she started roasting, she's like, I am not roasting that. It's too expensive. If you burn the batch, then that's
because it's like it was at one point like $32 a pound, right? Yeah. So 30 times 30.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. I think I'd do a pound at a time just in case of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can do that. I don't want it.
Takes a few hours. I'm gonna have to order.
I over roasted. Oh. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's so neat when you get
we have limited quantities of that usually. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. It's so neat when you start getting into the relationship of the coffee farmer, when you can actually make that connection just once removed, maybe even sometimes twice removed, depending on who you're using to get the coffee, because you really get the one, how important it is to source really good coffee from these roasters or from the farmers, because paying them top dollar for it is a big difference for what they're what they could be getting at the mill, where they're getting 60 cents on a pound, and then you turn around and start giving them $4, $5, $6, $8, depending on what it is, and it makes such an impact in their life, and it encourages them to grow better coffee. And there's a lot of studies and a lot of information out there that we're getting into the point where we're having the best coffee that's ever been grown because of what's happening with that relationship with roasters like yourself and farmers, and how that process works. And it's just amazing to go from I actually moved some green from Guatemala to a friend that's hobby roasting. I was like, because he's like, where can I get some? I was like, hold on, let me just pull out my phone. And I was like, okay, how many pounds do you want? And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, here you go. Just shoot me your address. I'll get it. I'll pay me back and I'll pay for it. But it's just such a cool experience that we don't get in the majority of America, because we can't grow coffee.
And we actually got a roaster from another farmer that we know as well. So he grows our Honduran coffee that we have. So that's pretty cool. And I got to learn from one of our farmers how to use a roaster. So that was pretty cool.
Cool. That's awesome. So have y'all did any origin trips yet? Are y'all planning on those?
Oh, I wish. I wish.
We want to. We've been invited, of course, to Malawi. Yeah. To Colombia and Brazil, but we haven't gone yet. We want to. It's
definitely on my
keep
list
reinvesting.
of things to do. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Everything's reinvesting at this point. So speaking of reinvesting, let's go and talk some more recent stuff. Tell me about your cafe, and tell me about how y'all have adapted to our current situation with the if you're listening later on down the road, we're right in the, well, hopefully the tail end of the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic here in the States. So tell me about how y'all have adjusted fire and moved.
So, personally, I've always wanted a coffee shop. Once I got into coffee, I knew that I wanted a coffee house. I wanted to actually provide a space for people to come and enjoy. But long story, I never really thought that was possible. It's like one of those pipe dreams that it's just there, but so I have a business coach, and I was talking to her December of 2018, and she asked me what I wanted for the next year, and I said I don't know. I really don't. And she said, well, sit and think about it. What's your happy place? If 5 years from now you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, where would you want to be? And I said, well, I would want to be in a coffee house. And she's like, well, you keep saying that that's not going to happen for a long time, but that's really what you want, and you really need to pursue it. And you'd be surprised once you identify that that's what you want, kind of things start moving around. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So then, I don't know, a couple weeks later, someone messages me, hey, this building is the best building in town, the best space, the best place, the most beautiful building in town is available for sale, and I think he would sell it to you. He's turned down a lot of other people. So I said, well, I'll just set up a meeting and go talk to him, and what's it going to hurt? So I went to him. He said, yeah, I'll sell to you. I've turned out a bunch of other people, but I'll sell to you. And I'm like, okay, that's amazing. So I guess I'm buying a building. And so we bought it. And I mean, there was a lot more into it, obviously, but I signed the paperwork for that last April 6th of 2019. And that's our old shop.
It's the old shop. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, that was way at the beginning. Holy moly, those are old. That's my
those are really old
Is this
bags.
it?
I rent that out to someone else.
Is this it? No.
That's the outside of
old one.
Thumb Roast. It would be under Ray's. That's our new building. Ray's in Croswell.
Yeah. Yeah.
RAE.
Yep.
ES. Yeah. So we moved because we knew at the previous building that you just pulled up, because of those stairs. I don't know if you got a chance to look at them at all, but they were built. That building was built in the 1800s, and it was when people were a lot smaller. And so the stairs leading up to the building were 8 inches deep and 46 inches of rise within 3 feet. They were super steep and super narrow. So hauling those 153-pound bags up those stairs, Michael was doing that by herself sometimes, trying to get those beans. So we knew we needed to move if we were ever going to grow. So we bought that building. So now I have 2 commercial buildings, and it came with a restaurant and a bar in it and 7 tenants upstairs. So in one fell swoop, I had the coffee wholesale and roasting business, and then a restaurant, a bar, and a landlord. So within that past year, we've renovated, and we've got the roaster is on the floor so that everybody that's in the restaurant can see it. It's sectioned off so you can't get to it. You can't read everything. It's, it's guarded, but you can see the roaster, and it's a prominent spot. It's like the most prominent spot in the space, and it's a conversation piece. People have no idea what it is when they first come in, and it's that conversation starter of what we do and how we do it. And we show people the green coffee, and we give them a little bit of a education and show them how the roaster works, and people love that. So having the coffee house and the roasting in the same location at the same time of a restaurant and the coffee house, it just provides this one whole experience that people can come and relax and enjoy. And then we get to have, live music. And we were having, before COVID, we were having bands in every Friday night. And we were honored to have one of the 20-year veterans of the River Band come and play on our stage. And we had what's his name come in and eat breakfast.
Richard Karn.
Oh, yeah, Richard Karn has come in and eaten breakfast there. And so it's been a great place for our community to come. And we were really building that traction of being the space for the community to come and hang out. And then COVID hit. And so, okay, well, we have to quickly shift. The wholesale business doesn't really change because it's one person bagging and then delivering the coffee. So that's a no-brainer, just making sure that we're taking the extra steps to keep everything sanitized and doing that multiple times. That's my new building. Yep. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, I love it.
Used to be an old hotel.
And then, yep. And then with the restaurant, we lock the doors and we take online sales, and we do curbside, and people can come and they can pick up bags of coffee for, through the store, or they can get cups of coffee or lattes, and then they can also order their food. And because of those state laws of Michigan, we can also sell packaged beer and wine. So we've been very fortunate to be positioned the way that we have been leading up to COVID, so that we were kind of prepared for all those different things. We just, don't do in, restaurant seating. We just do the curbside and delivery.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things that is kind of new here in Texas. I mean, you could get beer, wine, and stuff delivered to your house if you were using a specialty service. But you couldn't go and I think 2 weeks into it, we ordered fajitas and picked up margaritas, like pre-mixed margarita in a gallon jug if you wanted it. And that's a little bit new, and they just kind of said that was okay. But I'm wondering if now that we've went there and they realized that, the world didn't end because of it, if some of that stuff will be able to continue or be legalized, or if some of do y'all plan when this is over to keep some of the services that y'all might not have been offering prior to, or were y'all just doing everything that y'all were beforehand?
I don't think we've really changed anything besides we've added hours and the delivery. We weren't offering delivery at that point. And if we have the staffing to continue delivering during the days that we do, I don't mind doing that. People seem to really enjoy that service. So we won't be stopping anything. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, yeah, I feel like if anything, we would just I feel like the most thing that has changed is like you said, the delivery, but also I take pretty close to people's cars. Like I'll put in their their trunk or whatever, or their back seat, all their food, and then I don't even have to touch their hands. And we paid over the phone, so didn't even have to touch their card. And so even after this, I'm sure there's still going to be some people that are super conscious about germs. I'm probably going to be one of them, but
and that's good.
So they'll just watch what you're doing. I'd be fine with running it out to people's cars too, curbside still.
Yeah, I know. I've really enjoyed the curbside pulling up and them coming up and say, or you just telling them what kind of vehicle you have. They just all of a sudden they just verify who you are and bring it right out to you. That's been very nice, especially with small kids. I mean, that's super, super handy. Have y'all done any? We've got one roaster that drops off coffee. Do y'all deliver bag coffee as well right now, besides doing the mail order stuff?
Yep.
I just delivered some. Was it yesterday? 4 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a change for the good in the world when you can get online and order fresh roasted coffee and have it delivered to your doorstep is definitely an amazing thing. Where else are y'all carried there?
Sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when my kids were little and I was living in Rochester, Michigan, and I could not leave the house, my car was in the shop, my husband was at work, and I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And I thought, I would pay so much money for somebody to deliver coffee to my house right now. I wish there was a service that did that. So now being able to offer that, it's pretty cool.
It is.
Where else do we offer the coffee?
No, where else are you carried locally?
Oh, grocery stores, all the local grocery stores, gift shops, We do a lot of private labeling for companies that want their own brand of coffee. So a lot of them won't be carried necessarily in a shop or in a store. They'll just have their own and they sell it their way. Where else? Caseville, Bad X. Gosh, we usually have a space up in Port Austin, Michigan, which is like, again, if you're like this, and Port Austin's right at the tip of the thumb. It's a very touristy spot. There's thousands and thousands of people, around 10,000 on holiday weekends that swarm there. We have a coffee up there as well. But we're in most of the grocery stores and gift shops around here with the bagged coffee and the bottled cold brew. And we're trying to get our newest product, quick plug for that, our single serve packs. I had to break into my emergency stash. I was short on coffee the other day, so I had to break into mine, but they're nice to have. I get these grocery stores too.
Nice. And that's just a single
just sold
serving
one on your website.
Yes, you did. Then that's just a single serving coffee in a filter, right?
Yep, this is there's two of them in a pack, so it's a mesh bag like a tea bag, and you can use it 3 different ways. You can throw both of these in a regular coffee pot if you run out of coffee, or you don't make coffee. Like my aunt and my uncle, they don't drink it, but they'll have some on hand for when people come over. And no mess, you don't have to carry filters or anything. You just throw 2 of these in a pot, and then that will make a full 10-cup pot. Or you can just steep it like a tea bag, and that'll make several cups of coffee. But my favorite way to use those is to throw them in a pitcher of water overnight, and then in the morning you've got cold brew.
Awesome.
So you don't have to go out and buy it. I love that feature. That's my favorite.
And you don't have to measure it. You don't have to worry about the mess of cleaning up the cold brew after doing it. That's amazing. I think I know what else is going to be in my cart tomorrow.
Yeah, it's great. They're great. I am excited about those.
When you go back, I'm going to touch back with what you were saying about delivery. Just the, I've got 2 little girls myself, and at this point they get excited when the Amazon guy drops off something on the porch, which is sad because they're super, super social. It's just the fact that they haven't seen anybody besides mom and dad. And this week we've seen grandma and grandpa finally, but it's just, just dropping things off. They're like, the box. And then everybody's running to the front porch. I'm like, is it coffee? And my wife's like, is it ladybugs? She's been ordering ladybugs, all kinds of stuff online for the girls. But it's definitely changed. I think it's changed the way a lot of people shopped. And I'll be interested in seeing what the online frontier now looks like after this, and how many people will continue to shop online that maybe weren't, prior to this. So there's definitely some room to expand, and that's what I'm kind of counting on as well. So a couple questions, since there are a lot of male roasters out there. Missy and Michael, what's your advice to another woman out there that might be interested in coffee roasting?
I would say women coffee roasters has kind of been on the rise. There's actually a hashtag out there that says she's the roaster. And I don't think it's like other industries where it's male dominated. I think that the subculture of coffee is very inclusive. And that's another thing that I have really loved about this. When we were starting, we went and talked to other roasters. And they were open-armed. Come in, let me show you my roaster. Let me show you my suppliers. Let me show you where I keep everything. I will share everything. Every roaster that we met was so inviting and inclusive. So I think a lot of times with women and the idea that women have a little bit of a shortcoming because of male dominated industries or whatever, I've actually done some research on that very thing. Again, because I'm a nerd, but I think a lot of times it's because we do it to ourselves. I think we limit ourselves instead of thinking, well, it's a male dominated industry. I don't have a place there. It's just a mindset. So I would say to somebody, do research and talk to another roaster, because that's gonna dissipate very quickly. Any intimidation or questions or anything that you have, that's one of the reasons why I've been in business this long, is because somebody knows the answer to my question, and I will ask until I get an answer. I'm not going to bug people, but somebody's already done this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to not let any of those barriers get in my way. I'm just going to ask a question. And a lot of times I find that, especially in this industry, they want to answer. They love talking about coffee in whatever form. So I would just say, ask anybody and everybody and get as much information as you can, because it's amazing. It's amazing, an amazing industry to be involved in. I love it.
I don't know if I can really do much better than that.
Mike?
So ditto. Yep.
Excellent. Now, there is a lot of room, for improvement in the industry, I think. Not necessarily the specialty coffee industry, but just coffee as a whole, because a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And that's one reason why we have the show, is to educate people on, hey, this is, it doesn't have to be black to be good. It doesn't, what you're looking at, it doesn't necessarily have to be off the grocery store shelf. It doesn't necessarily have to be from my website. It just find your local small batch roaster. Find who's roasting coffee in your hometown. Find who's roasting coffee in the next town over, and get a bag, because I'm almost 99% sure that it's going to be better than anything you've ever had if you've bought store-bought coffee from a non-local roaster.
I hated coffee so much before I started drinking this coffee, because she would try and have me try every different kind of coffee, from, I never mind, I'm not going to say brand names, but yeah, so I would refuse to drink it, because it's like, why would I want to drink something that, either A, I don't have to drink, because, a lot of people just drink it because, I need caffeine and that's what you do to, get the energy, or they enjoy the taste, which is bonkers to me, why you would ever enjoy the taste of really bitter coffee. But yeah, as soon as I tried, I started on the cold brew because the hot coffee was just too much for me. So the flavor of the cold brew, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is actually good. This is what coffee tastes like.
I'm fixing to start experimenting with some nitro. I think I'm going to get me a nitro coffee maker and do some nitro cold brew at home.
That'd be good
for just to do it, so I can say I can. It's definitely, it's so much fun. It really is. And that's one of the things that was brought up earlier today. I think when I posted a comment that I was like, the funnest thing about this job is trying new coffee. And I think Missy is froze on us, because she hasn't moved in a few minutes.
Well, let me
yeah, she's froze.
She is definitely not.
She's definitely not there.
Definitely not sitting there.
She's usually more talkative than that. But
absolutely.
When I was commenting,
I can hear her.
Oh, we can hear her, but she's just frozen.
My kids, I'm fighting with my kids with bandwidth, I think.
We got Muddy Joe's has jumped on in the comments over here. We've had a few comments during the day. Ron, one of our customers, is watching from Illinois. He says hi. And David from Muddy Joe's is on as well in the comments. So, one of the things that was brought up on a Facebook post a couple days ago, everybody in their opinion in the comments. I was posting up about our new subscription, and they're like, oh, well, there's 70 other places online that you can get a subscription like that. I'm like, yeah, but those 70 don't have my roasters that I have. So it's a total unique experience. Even to the point where if you got a certain bean, Michael, and you roasted it and David roasted it another way.
Oh yeah, it'd be completely different. Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about this. So, ladies, We're going to get wrapped up. I think I hear my crew calling me in the background there, and it's bath time here. So thanks for coming on. And I believe y'all are the roaster's choice for May, right? Coming up here in a few short days, y'all will be
Yes,
the
sir.
roaster's choice. And what
Cool.
are y'all roasting for us?
Our Honduran. We have a very nutty, magical experience of a Honduran that we get from the farmer. So we're excited.
I'm definitely excited to give it a try and get it out to our audience. But once again, everybody listening out there, thanks for tuning in. If you watched live, we really appreciate y'all watching. If you're listening down the road, you've downloaded this, go ahead, give us a good rating and a review. Check out Thumb Roast. What's your website? Give me a plug for Ray's. Give me a plug for your website. Where can we find you besides Roasters Marketplace?
Yep. So the restaurant is rayscroswell.com, and the coffee roasting is thumbroastcoffee.com.
And you can find them. It'll be my featured roaster here next month on roastersmarketplace.com. Ladies, thank you for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to roll my music here and we'll go and go off air. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Appreciate
Have a great night.
Thank you.